Folks, let me give you a lesson on Middle East peace. Maybe the only lesson you're going to need. This comes from the Gatestone Institute, and I quote, "You simply cannot burn pictures of the Saudi crown prince one day and rush to Riyadh to seek money the next. You cannot shout slogans against the Egyptian president one day and go to Cairo to seek political backing the next." Remarkably, Turki al-Hamad, a Saudi writer, did what even some Western countries refused to do. He dared to condemn Hamas and other Gaza-based groups for firing rockets at Israel. Mohammed al-Sheikh, Saudi author, RT Arabic, wrote the following, quote, "Palestinians bring disaster to anyone who hosts them. Jordan hosted them and there was Black September. Lebanon hosted them and there was a civil war there. Kuwait hosted them and they turned into Saddam Hussein's soldiers. Now they're using their podiums to curse us." This quote comes from Ahmad al-Jarraya, a leading Kuwaiti newspaper editor. Quote, "Many people in the Arab countries are now saying it's high time for the Palestinians to start looking after their own interests and thinking of a better future for their children. The Arabs seem to be saying to the Palestinians, we want to march forward. You can continue to march backward for as long as you wish. We should not be ashamed to establish relations with Israel." Unquote. So is it true? If so, why? Sadly, the Palestinians are known for betraying their Arab brothers, even effectively stabbing them in the back. The Palestinians, for example, supported Saddam Hussein's 1990 invasion of Kuwait, a Gulf state that, together with its neighbors, used to give the Palestinians tens of millions of dollars in aid each year. This disloyalty is precisely how a growing number of Arabs, particularly those living in the Gulf states, have been describing the Palestinians for the past few years. Unquote. Folks, why is there no peace in the Middle East? Specifically, the Palestinians in Israel. Why has there been no peace? Well, we know it's not because of the Israeli side, because the Israelis, and I've had issues with this, have made Palestinians a home in Israel. They're accorded full citizenship rights, full religious rights. They sit in the Knesset. They sit on the Supreme Court. They vote. As a matter of fact, Israel just had an election, and it's the Arab vote that swung the election away from Benjamin Netanyahu. On top of which, you've heard, and it's absolutely true, Arabs have the best standard of living in Israel of just about anywhere in the Middle East, unless you're an Arab oil sheik. So what's the fly in the ointment? The fly in the ointment is the Palestinians themselves, who cannot get along with, cannot remain loyal to their own fellow Arabs, let alone Jews. They stab other Arabs in the back. They take their money. They commit acts of horrific violence. They are not to be trusted. They are the human garbage of the Middle East. Even the Arab countries want nothing to do with them, which is why none of the 22 Arab nations has created a Palestinian state within their borders. First of all, there's no such thing as a Palestinian people. The name Palestine was created by a Roman emperor 20 centuries ago. There are no Palestinian Arabs. There are Arabs who no one else in the Middle East wanted, who happened to be sitting on Jewish land in 1948 when God brought the Jews back to their homeland. The Palestinians were offered 95% of what they wanted by Ehud Barak when he was prime minister, and Yasser Arafat, their murderous leader, still said no. Palestinians don't want their own nation. They want to destroy the Jewish nation, and they want to carp about it, and they want to go out and get handouts around the world, and God knows where that money ends up, whose pocket it's in. The obstacle of Middle East peace is the Palestinians, which is why your humble host has been suggesting for 3 decades that rather than continuing to negotiate with the Palestinians, rather than rewarding them for their murder and their rape and their terror, that Israel, supported by other Arab nations and supported by the Western countries, should crush the Palestinians and be done with them. Well, the Israelis haven't got the stomach for it. They won't do it. They're too afraid of what the Western countries will say. They're too afraid of a negative op-ed in the New York Times or the Washington Post. And so the Palestinians continue to poison the entire Middle East, not just Israel, the entire Middle East. Over in Japan, Fukushima is pouring thousands of gallons of radioactive water a day into the ocean. The Palestinians are the Middle East's radioactive water. And rather than leaving it for Israel to deal with them, all of the countries in the Middle East, who now are indeed moving forward, need to collectively deal with the Palestinians. If the nations of the Middle East, regardless of their religion, can agree on that, then there will be a lasting peace. If they can't agree on that, there will be no peace because the Palestinians don't benefit. They don't profit from peace. They profit from terror and murder. Palestinians need to be dispensed with, gotten rid of. Once we can do that, we can move forward to bigger and better things and increase the living standards of all the Arabs in the Middle East who are beginning to get clued into the fact that peace partners with prosperity, not war, not terrorism. It's Monday. My name is Howard Real, and this is Real Truth, and we will be right back.